Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Hey guys, what is up? How you doing? Hope you're doing good. McJibbin back here with another reaction video. So we're doing World War I Seminal Tragedy Part 2. Part 1 was really good so far. As always, you guys are really good at recommending channels and videos, helping me learn a lot. If you guys would like to join us, that's like what we do here. I want to get kind of more just kind of hang out, chill, learn about history. So if you like that, then hit the subscribe button, pull up the chair. We'd love to have you. Now, let's get into it. Original video at the top of the description below. What happened last time? End of last time. Oh, see, this is what happens when you spread out series episodes too far. So, Japanese, they had that victory, big ego boost against Russia. England and France were just kind of acting all superior, and Germany was really becoming stronger and stronger every day, and they wanted to stop being disrespected and looked at the same way as those countries. And they had the muscle to do it, obviously, with World War I started. All right, let's get into it. Sorry, shouldn't talk so much. Let's do it. Great channel. I'd advise watching the first one, either from extra credits or extra history. I guess extra credits history portion. I would recommend going and checking out the first episode of the Seminal War Part 1, either my reaction to it or right from the channel. You'll find the link to this one down below, and then you can just easily find the other one. Or maybe I'll stick that in the details too, in the description. You know, a link to the first one. Anyways, let's go.
All right, the stage is set. Now let's put the players in their places. The curtain opens on the back of a rundown cafe.
I want to learn how to
Belgrade.
draw like this.
A young man comes in carrying a package and takes a seat at a table with a handful of other young men huddled around.
Belgrade's
they
in Ireland,
to
right?
A hush as he opens the package. Inside is a single piece of paper, a newspaper clipping. The one who brought the package bends over to stare at the page. One of the other young men slides a candle across the table so he can better see. Before him, circled in red, is a headline, and it reads,
Is Belgrade in Ireland? No, Belfast. Where's Belgrade? Damn it.
Archduke Franz Ferdinand to visit Sarajevo. Now we skip ahead a few weeks. We're outside a palace. A resplendently
Belgrade,
dressed man
Serbia.
and woman
Duh.
are getting in a line, and it reads, Archduke Franz Ferdinand to visit Sarajevo. Now we skip ahead a few weeks. We're outside a palace. A resplendently dressed man and woman are getting in an open-top car 100 years ago this year. He is dressed in bright, blazing blue. His chest is full of medals. On his head, a grand horsehair cap. She is
It's about
wearing
to be
a
full of
flowing
medal.
white dress and laughing. He helps her into the car. This is Franz Ferdinand, the Archduke of Austria, next in line for succession to the throne.
He lives a long,
accompanied
happy
by
life.
his wife, Sophie. They've come to Sarajevo to watch military maneuvers, but really that's an excuse. It's their anniversary. They've come to get away from the stifling courts of Austria, where the Archduke's marriage to Sophie will never be accepted due to her low birth.
All right, sorry, I'm not going to pause so much, but I would like to. I've commented a lot in a few videos about, like, if you had to ask me what my enjoyable essay was I wrote in college, it would be the one where we were asked in a what kind of class was it? I think it was a World War I specific history class. And one of our first papers was to write, all right, who do you think, maybe not our first paper, but one of our early papers, who do you think started the war and why? You tend to be a little bit more cut and dry with World War II, who started it. But World War I is much more confusing. You can't just say the Serbs, you can't just say anyone, because it took everything to really make it a global conflict. So I'm wondering, if you guys could leave in the comments or something, if you had to pick one nation. I know it's not that easy. One country that started, most responsible for starting the war, who would you pick? I think maybe I'll ask you guys that.
She was, after all, only a countess. But things have been really tense in this part of the empire. The Serbian agitators have been acting with increased boldness to demand a Serbia free and independent from Austrian rule. And this day, of all days, falls on the anniversary of one of the greatest battles in Serbian history, the Battle of Kosovo. It's one of the great rallying points of the Serbian people, a point of national pride. To Serbian nationalists, this is one of their proudest days. And to them, for the Archduke of Austria, the symbol of their oppression, the embodiment of foreign rule, to come here on that day was the greatest insult. Now, perhaps the Archduke had chosen that day to show solidarity, to ease tensions, to make the people of Serbia understand that he cared about their traditions. Maybe he simply didn't know that the day had any special importance, and he was just there to get away.
Maybe.
But whatever the reason, he was ill-informed. For on any other day, the events that are about to play out may not have happened. On any other day, this might have turned out simply to be...
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't, so... Either he was very unlucky, or he was, not very wise, I guess, or he was just trying to push buttons.
Your average parade, an event which wouldn't even go down as a historical footnote in a long and prosperous rule. But something had to happen on this day. It was too symbolic, too important, too grand of a story. And so the first domino is placed in the mad and improbable events of this 28th day of June.
I said I wouldn't pause, damn it, but this is a great just visualization of why I love history. It's kind of not just one line, but how everything is kind of connected. Jeez.
Placed in the mad and improbable events of this 28th day of June 1914. So here now, in the sleek black car, the royal couple begins to process down the streets of Sarajevo, flanked by 5 other cars filled with officials and guards. It's a parade.
They'll protect
the streets
you.
are lined with onlookers, the route has been published, the world knows exactly where the Archduke is going to be. And those young men from that cafe in Belgrade are there in that crowd. They are nationalists. They're patriots.
They're
assassins and terrorists.
What?
They call themselves Young Serbia and are part of the much more ominously named Black Hand. And
Do they have gang
angry.
signs?
Angry in the way that only young men can be. And when I say young, I mean that barely any of them had reached the age of 20. They had in them an anger born of ideals, or they had ideals to rationalize their anger. A boldness born of a cause, or when I say young, I mean that barely any of them had reached the age of 20. They had in them an anger born of ideals, or they had ideals to rationalize their anger. A boldness born of a cause, or a cause to justify the brash kind of risk-taking that truly borders madness.
My brain's gonna blow up.
Here they were, hidden in the crowd, intent on killing the Archduke. One by one, the Archduke's car passes his would-be assassins. Nothing happens. No attempt on his life. 2 of his assassins ended up succumbing to fear and couldn't go through with the deed. One felt pity for his wife sitting in the car and just couldn't bring himself to pull the trigger. Another one had an equipment malfunction. And so, one by one, Ferdinand passed them, none the wiser, smiling and waving to the crowd, smiling and waving in an open-top car so the world could better see. But at last, on the Commercia Bridge, an assassin finally steps forward and throws a bomb at the Archduke's car. Seconds before it lands, Ferdinand sees it and dives behind the door of the car as the bomb passes over him and bounces into the street behind. An explosion rips through the ground, mangling the car following them and leaving 20 people wounded and bleeding on the street. The assassin leaps over the side of the bridge to make his escape, but in the type of amateurish planning that would be comical if the circumstances weren't so grave, he fails to realize that the river below is only 4 inches deep.
Where did you get all these details? I didn't know any of this.
In one last act of comic tragic bravado, the assassin swallows the cyanide pill he's been...
I love how I'm just like, yeah, you know, Franz Ferdinand, he got shot at the parade thinking like you know the whole picture. This guy's going even deeper.
...carrying. A fight of comic tragic bravado. The assassin swallows the cyanide pill he's been carrying. A final "you'll never take me alive" gesture. But alas, these young high school assassins had bought their suicide pills on the cheap, and this one was way past its shelf life. So the young man just sits quietly vomiting into the river while the police stroll down to take him very much alive. The motorcade races back the way it came, sirens screaming, and the city begins to lock down. Another of the young men, a 19-year-old named Gavrilo Princip, watches the cars go by, heart sinking. So it's done, he thinks to himself. It's off. The Archduke is alive. The assassination's failed.
Wrong.
He is pretty bummed out. His hopes to be immortalized in the halls of Serbian heroes are dashed. All his dreams of glory just shattered. Overall, it's been a pretty lousy day. So he goes off to pout, thinking maybe a snack will make me feel better. This one young man's comfort snack may seem like a small thing, but it's on the small things that history often turns. Back at City Hall, the Archduke and the mayor are having words. The mayor proposes that the Archduke and Duchess should continue on their trip, but the Archduke thunders back something like, "Are you crazy? You'd have us visit museums while bombs explode on your streets?" And then, in a gesture of gallantry that you don't often see anymore, he proposes instead that they immediately visit the hospital where the wounded were taken after the attack. So they don't hide him in a bunker or spirit him out of the country with a small army of guards like we would do today. Instead, they all pile out to the motorcade and start off towards the hospital.
Same
nobody
old
remembers
thing,
to tell Franz
different day.
Ferdinand's driver, and I should mention that this is the Archduke's personal But nobody remembers to tell Franz Ferdinand's driver, and I should mention that this is the Archduke's personal chauffeur. This fellow came along with the Archduke for the trip, but he's Austrian through and through. This guy does not know his way around Sarajevo. And so, as they're making their way through the city, the Archduke's driver makes a wrong turn onto Franz Josef Street, a street named for the Archduke's father. Meanwhile, our failed assassin, Gavrilo Princip, is sitting outside a deli, eating his consolation snack and starting to feel maybe a little better.
This is how
maybe
World
this
War I
won't be his only
starts.
chance, he thinks. Maybe someday he'll have another shot at greatness. I mean, it was a really bad day, but who knows?
Because of a bad driver who doesn't know where he's going. Somebody go tell that guy back in... Okay.
They're not okay. He'd have to go into hiding for a while, but he... Holy is that the Archduke? Yes, right there in front of him, in the same open-topped car, was the Archduke and his wife. The driver had taken a random wrong turn onto the street where Gavrilo Princip was having a sandwich, and their car had just stalled out trying to back up. 3 strides
come on, no.
Gavrilo can hear the Archduke and his wife talking from the car. No words, just actions. He stands up, he pulls out his pistol, and he fires 2 shots that change the world. The Archduke looks over, barely noticing the gendarmes wrestling the young man by the car to the ground.
Who gave him that sandwich? All right, that guy at the deli is responsible for all those deaths. If he just didn't give him a sandwich, he wouldn't have the energy to do this.
His only sight is for his wife, lying quietly on the floor of the car. He reaches out with a hand weak and heavy. Something's wrong with his neck. He can't quite think straight. He sees her and he utters one last wish. Sophie, don't die. Live for our children. A man leans over him and asks if he's badly hurt, and he thinks he says, "It's nothing. It's nothing." He repeats the phrase, each time a little more quietly, and neither of them live through the hour. And so, our first act is done.
It's almost like he had no will to live after seeing his wife die. Or the death of oppressors. An act of terror or a heroic strike for freedom. An act that relied on 1,000 coincidences. On a poorly chosen date, on a change of plans, on a misinformed driver, and on a sad young man having a sandwich. But no matter how you look at it, it was an act that began the greatest war in history and brought to an end the world that all of these actors knew. This war would change the world. Join us next time and find out how the world responds to this event. That was the end? That was the end of the episode? Alrighty, I'm gonna do part 3 like right after this. Maybe I should just do part 3 right now. No, I'll make a new video. I'll make another video right after this, alright guys? Alright, see you guys next time. Love you guys to subscribe, everything. Hit that bell icon. See when my next video comes out. Go check out Extra Credits. Go comment, everything, all that. Hope you guys are doing okay.